Cliff Carver. The first Alpine coaster in Texas offers a solid layout for the genre, though there are limitations to Alpine coasters in general that hold them back from offering truly great forces. That, combined with the lack of solid views from the coaster itself, left me wanting a bit more out of this expensive coaster. But, do I still find it enjoyable? Find out in this review. Cliff Carver is located at Camp Fimfo, Hill Country, in or just outside of New Braunfels, Texas. The roller coaster database lists this coaster as being in Canyon Lake, but the website uses a New Braunfels address, and knowing its proximity to New Braunfels, Texas, helps me have a better sense of exactly where this coaster is in the overall landscape of Texas. It is still about a 20 to 30 minute drive from the heart of the city, as it took me about that to drive from Londa Park on my most recent visit. The Texas Hill Country is a rather isolated place that has encouraged tourism for those seeking to relax in quiet cabins while still having a lot of activities within an hour's drive. Six Flags Fiesta Texas, for example, is only about an hour from this park, as well as most of the tourist attractions along I-35 around New Braunfels. Camp Fimfo is an acronym meaning fun is more fun outside. Given their price structure, this is essentially high-end camping, as campsites and cabins are much more on the expensive side. Even with me needing to get a hotel in the San Antonio area, it does not make financial sense to stay here. Large cabins for 12 people seem to be around $600 a night, with smaller cabins for 8 being around $500. Even smaller cabins for 2 run about $300 a night, with RV campsites being $200 a night. A plain tent site costs $130 up to $200 a night, with 4 guests included and an occupancy charge for each additional guest after 4. These prices do include the amenities for all guests, which you can buy separately per day for around $40 to $50 per person, so that is part of the reason for the higher price. Clearly, the leaning of this property is to be a high-priced campground with decent amenities and activities for all ages. As there was heavy rain in the forecast when I visited, I did not purchase the ground wristband that would have let me do the various activities on property. These mainly seem to include a large swimming pool with a couple of nice tube slides, as well as miniature golf and some sport courts. Activities that are nice for families, but likely not too enticing for single park goers or even couples. Compared to other family entertainment centers or farm parks across Texas, these amenities are rather basic, but the benefit seems to be the atmosphere and that you're staying on property, though the campsites are still a long hike from the main area, so most guests had to rent, i.e. pay for, a golf cart to go back and forth from their cabins. Once you're at the main site, though, everything does seem to be fairly close together. As for riding the coaster, this is a separate upcharge for everyone at $22 per ride. If you book 2 or more rides, it is only $18 a ride, which is what I did so that I could get 2 rides on this coaster. Even though you're booking for 2 people, they won't give you a problem if you, as a single rider, use both rides on yourself. You will just have to get back in line after you finish riding it the first time. You will need to book and reserve a time slot for this coaster, as well as complete the online waiver, both of which can easily be done from your phone. The first hour seemed by far the busiest, and I was hesitant to book in advance, especially with incoming thunderstorms, so I had to wait an extra hour for the 12 p.m. window to come around once I got on site. Since I wanted 2 rides, this probably was not a terrible thing, as the line was much shorter after everyone went on Cliff Carver during the first hour it was open. Plus, I was able to use this extra hour to drive around the property and get off-ride footage of the coaster. If you're looking for a quick stop for this credit, go ahead and book ahead of time. Although the price per ride is really high, like most Alpine coasters, Spending $36 for 2 rides on a coaster is not actually terrible, as I've spent more between buffets and or unlimited passes at family entertainment centers for a couple of laps on coasters at those parks. As for the coaster, if you have not ridden an Alpine coaster, the type of coaster that these mountain coasters are, they consist of one car that can seat up to 2 people sitting on top of each other. For adults, you will likely be riding by yourself, unless you're riding with a child or you're not very big to begin with. The cars have a braking mechanism that allows riders to brake throughout the trip. For some installations of these vegan Alpine coasters, you will have to contend with slow riders braking ahead of you almost the whole way down. With 3 separate lift hills, operators were really good at holding guests so that there was enough space between riders. This did not occur, however, on my second run, but I simply braked harshly at the top of each lift hill and was fine as most riders went at a decent pace ahead of me. I rode at full speed without manually braking on each of my trips, but the car will automatically brake when it starts going too fast. This is honestly the largest flaw with these vegan Alpine coasters, as it normally occurred for me on the largest drops or turns, which killed the pacing, laterals, and or airtime for all of these moments. After they scan your ticket in the station, you'll slowly board onto a car, and then be held at the bottom of the hill in the station, where they will have you wait to help pace out all of the cars ahead of you on the track. This waiting process can take a few minutes, but just remember you paid good money for this experience. Then you go up the first of 3 lift hills. This one offers the best views, as you can actually look down to the valley on your left. The rest of the coaster will offer few views, as it only goes between the trees on the side of the hill. At the top, you turn right out of the lift hill and start the first of 3 downward sections. This one mainly cuts across the mountain and has some snaking back and forth as its main gimmick, which is good, especially for the first section of a mountain coaster, as the snaking around and minimum banking won't cause your auto brakes to engage too much during this section of the trip, allowing you to feel some of the swaying back and forth that this course has. At the end, you will enter a large helix, but will be auto-braked for most of it as you hit the helix with decent speed so that it won't really offer any laterals like it could. Then you slow to a stop, where they will hold you to space you out for the next lift hill. After going up the second lift hill, you enter the second section of the coaster. This mainly focuses on large turns that ideally will offer laterals. But with your general speed, you will likely take these turns too fast and be auto-braked, reducing most of the laterals that you should be getting from this overall layout. Even the few small dips that are in this section suffer from your brakes, making them nothing too special. After winding your way through these turns, you come out near the road at the bottom of the hill to wait for the final lift hill. The last section is decent as a finale, though it is a bit short as it blends various elements together. You start with 2 180-degree turns, followed by a winding path that snakes side to side. Then there's a small dip, before more large turns that end in the final helix, where you'll begin to slow down and enter the station to end your ride. Overall, how good is Cliff Carver? I haven't ridden a lot of mountain coasters, other than Jungle Coaster in Thailand, but this layout should be able to compete with most coasters out there between the laterals, quick drops, isolated setting, and overall speed that you can get. However, the layout does not play as nicely with the Alpine cars, as your auto braking will significantly reduce the various forces that you should be getting from these elements. For families with young kids or those scared of bigger coasters, this offers a nice family coaster without super high thrills. But for those seeking better quality coasters, this is unfortunate, as this coaster really has a chance to be so much better. I rank it right above Jungle Coaster at Pongay Jungle Adventure, That Alpine coaster offers nice views and actually does have some decent laterals on most of the turns, but does not nearly have as complete of a layout as Cliff Carver. I rank it right below pole position at the Montgomery County Fair. This spinning coaster offered fantastic laterals throughout its first half, but the drops later in the ride were not too great, especially for a spinning coaster that can take them sideways or backwards. Cliff Carver does some nice things, but since its cars can't let you experience its layout unbraked, it hits a ceiling as far as how good of a coaster it actually is. Do you think mountain coasters are worth the price? Is staying at Camp Fimfo worth the price? Let me know. And as always, Kapkun Krap.